Before the world was born, when only music wove the threads of existence, a shadow stirred in the void. In the halls of Ilúvatar, the Creator, divine spirits sang to shape Arda, the earth. Among them were the Valar, mighty guardians of creation, and the Maya, their lesser kin. Two stood apart, Melkor, radiant and proud, whose voice rivaled the stars, and Mairon, a craftsman of unparalleled skill, whose heart yearned for perfection. Yet within their brilliance lay the seeds of darkness, for ambition can curdle into rebellion and order into tyranny. This is the tale of Melkor, who became Morgoth, and Mairon, who became Sauron, two dark lords whose shadows would scar Middle-earth forever. In the beginning, Melkor was the greatest of the Valar, his power matched only by his pride. He dreamed of crafting life as Ilúvatar did, weaving his own melodies into the music of creation. But Ilúvatar rebuked him, declaring all things part of his design. Melkor's heart rebelled. If he could not create, he would undo. Renamed Morgoth by the elves, meaning black foe, he turned from light to chaos, vowing to shatter the world he could not shape. Mairon, known later as Sauron, was different. A Maya serving Alla, the Vala of craftsmanship, he loved order and efficiency, crafting wonders with meticulous care. Yet his love for perfection became an obsession. He saw the world's chaos, its wars, its flaws, and believed only he could mend it. Morgoth, sensing this hunger, lured Mairon to his side, promising freedom to impose his vision. Thus, Mairon became Sauron, Morgoth's most trusted lieutenant, his brilliance twisted to serve a darker cause. Their origins set them on divergent paths. Morgoth, a Vala, wielded godlike power, capable of shaking mountains and sundering seas. His rebellion was cosmic, a war against creation itself. Sauron, a Maya, was lesser in might but sharper in cunning, his ambition rooted in control rather than destruction. As Middle-earth took shape, their shadows grew, each carving a legacy of ruin in their own way. Morgoth struck first, in the dawn of Arda. He toppled the two lamps, great pillars that lit the world, plunging it into darkness. He ravaged Valinor, the blessed realm of the Valar, stealing the Silmarils, three radiant jewels crafted by the elf Feanor, filled with the light of the two trees. His theft was not for gain, but for spite, and he slew Feanor's father, Finwë, to wound his foes. These acts sparked the wrath of the elves, who pursued him to Middle-earth, igniting centuries of war. Sauron, meanwhile, served as Morgoth's strategist, commanding the fortress of Angband. His mind was a forge of schemes, crafting weapons and breeding monsters like orcs to bolster Morgoth's armies. While Morgoth raged, Sauron planned, his eyes fixed on a future where he might rule. When Morgoth fell, defeated by the Valar at the end of the First Age, Sauron fled, biding his time. In the Second Age, he rose as the new Dark Lord, his ambitions no longer bound to another's will. Their beginnings reveal the heart of their tale. Morgoth, a fallen god consumed by envy, and Sauron, a craftsman corrupted by pride. One sought to break the world, the other to bind it. As we journey deeper, we will see how their desires shaped their deeds, forging paths of chaos and tyranny that would echo through the ages. In the tapestry of Middle-earth, Morgoth and Sauron wove threads of darkness, yet their motives were as different as fire and ice. Morgoth's heart was a furnace of chaos, burning to consume all that Ilúvatar had made. Sauron's was a cold machine, grinding toward a world where every soul bent to his will. To understand their evil, we must peer into their desires, for it was there that their paths diverged. Morgoth's fall began with envy. As a Vala, he stood among the mightiest, yet Ilúvatar's sole power to create life gnawed at him. During the music of creation, he sang discordant notes, seeking to craft his own world. When Ilúvatar wove these notes into his plan, Morgoth's pride turned to hatred. "If I cannot have it," he swore, "none shall." His desire was not to rule, but to ruin. He loathed elves, men, and even the dwarves crafted by Olé, seeing them as Ilúvatar's mockery of his own barren ambition. His acts, destroying the two trees, cursing the elf Hurin to watch his family's doom, were tantrums of a god, lashing out at a world he could not own. Sauron, by contrast, was driven by a twisted idealism. As a Maya, he had shaped wonders under Olé, from flawless gems to unyielding steel. He saw Middle-earth's chaos, its wars, its waste, and believed he alone could impose harmony. But harmony became control, and control became domination. Unlike Morgoth, Sauron did not hate life itself. He admired the elves' craft, envied men's vigor, and saw potential in all to serve his vision. His corruption came when Morgoth offered him power to enact his plans, free from the valor's constraints. Sauron joined him, not out of spite, but because he believed Morgoth's chaos could be harnessed to build his perfect order. Their motivations shaped their evils. Morgoth's chaos was reckless, spilling ruin without purpose. When he stole the Silmarils, he did not plan for the elves' pursuit, which led to centuries of war. His hatred blinded him, turning even allies into enemies. Sauron, however, was deliberate. Every act served his goal of dominion. When he forged the Rings of Power in the Second Age, he sought to bind the elves' minds, not destroy them. Only when they resisted did he unleash war, targeting their realms with surgical precision. Morgoth's chaos was a wildfire, consuming all in its path. He cursed lands, poisoned rivers, and bred dragons to terrorize the world. His heart held no room for creation, only destruction. Sauron's tyranny was a vice, squeezing life into submission. He built towers, forged armies, and corrupted kings, all to enforce his vision. Where Morgoth raised, Sauron ruled. Where Morgoth hated, Sauron manipulated. Yet both were bound by their flaws. Morgoth's envy made him irrational, his spite leading to missteps like sparking the elves' rebellion. Sauron's pride blinded him to the resilience of free will as elves and men defied his schemes. Their desires, chaos and order, set them apart, but their inability to see beyond themselves united them. As we turn to their methods, we will see how these hearts of darkness forged wars that shook the world. Morgoth and Sauron did not merely dream of darkness. They forged it in fire and blood. Their methods, how they waged war, swayed allies, and broke enemies, revealed the chasm between their souls. Morgoth fought as a tempest, hurling destruction with reckless fury. Sauron schemed as a spider, weaving webs of deceit to ensnare the world. Their wars reshaped Middle-earth, but their approaches could not have been more different. Morgoth's warfare was chaos unleashed. From his fortress of Angband, he sent armies of orcs, balrogs, and dragons to crush his foes. His strategy was brute force, overwhelming enemies with sheer numbers. In the First Age, he launched sudden assaults, like the Dagor Bragolach, the Battle of Sudden Flame, which burned the elven realms to ash. Yet his recklessness betrayed him. He rarely planned, trusting in his might to prevail. When he stole the Silmarils, he did not anticipate the elves' pursuit, sparking the wars of Beleriand. His spite drove him to cruel acts, like cursing Hurin, but these often backfired, fueling his enemies' resolve. Morgoth was no warrior. For all his power, he cowered in Angband, emerging only once to duel the elf king Fingolfin, and even then he barely survived. His manipulation was crude, relying on fear rather than finesse. He betrayed allies like the Easterlings, promising them lands only to imprison them, ensuring their loyalty turned to resentment. His wars were effective but wasteful, leaving him vulnerable to the Valor's final assault. Sauron, by contrast, was a master of strategy. Rising in the Second Age, he built Mordor as a fortress of precision, its armies disciplined and its forges ceaseless. His wars were calculated, often planned over centuries. When he forged the Rings of Power, disguised as the fair Anatar, he sought to control the elves without bloodshed. Only when they rejected his one ring did he invade, targeting Eregion to cripple their resistance. His destruction of the Entwives, tree shepherds of legend, was not spite but strategy, denying his enemies resources. Sauron's manipulation was subtle. In Numenor, he posed as a prisoner, whispering lies to turn a mighty kingdom against the Valar, leading to its downfall. Unlike Morgoth, he led armies himself, though he avoided combat, knowing his strength lay in his mind. His wars often faltered, not from recklessness, but from underestimating his foe's courage. The last alliance of elves and men defeated him, proving his plans, however meticulous, could not account for hope. Their methods reflect their cores. Morgoth's chaos bred fear but sowed discord. Sauron's order built empires but faltered against free will. As we explore their goals, we will see the worlds they sought to create, and why both were doomed. Morgoth and Sauron did not merely fight for power. They dreamed of reshaping the world. Their ultimate goals, Morgoth's vision of annihilation and Sauron's dream of eternal rule, reveal the heart of their darkness. One sought to unmake creation, the other to chain it to his will. Their endgames, though drenched in evil, paint two starkly different futures for Middle-earth. Morgoth's goal was destruction, pure and absolute. As Tolkien wrote in Morgoth's Ring, his rage grew so consuming that he loathed all life not born of his hand. He dreamed of a void where nothing remained. No elves, no men, no mountains, no seas. His wars were steps toward this apocalypse. He poisoned Balerion's rivers, turned forests to ash, and bred monsters to devour the world. In his madness, he would have turned even on his own servants, orcs and dragons alike, until only he remained. Tolkien imagined Morgoth, hammer in hand, raging against the earth itself, desperate to undo Ilúvatar's work. Yet Morgoth's dream was futile. Ilúvatar's creation could not be unmade. Spirits of elves and men endured beyond death, and Arda itself, though scarred, would always exist. Morgoth's chaos was a tantrum against a truth he could not change. He was not God. His wars weakened him, pouring his power into the earth, leaving him a shadow of his former might when the Valar cast him into the void. Sauron's vision was not emptiness, but dominion. He sought a world where every soul, from elf to orc, bowed to his rule. Life could exist. Indeed, he needed it to serve him, but only under his iron hand. In the Second and Third Ages, he conquered vast lands, from Harad to Rhûn, where men worshipped him as a god. His Mordor was a machine of order, its forges fueling armies, its towers watching all. Forests fell to feed his fires, rivers choked with ash, and freedom vanished, but civilization endured, twisted to his purpose. Sauron's world was dystopian, a realm of cruelty and control. In Numenor, under his sway, men turned to human sacrifice, their nobility warped to greed. Had he triumphed, Middle-earth would have become a prison, eternal and unchanging, for as a Maya, Sauron had no end. Yet his dream, too, was flawed. Free will defied him, as seen when Frodo and Sam destroyed the One Ring into which Sauron had poured his power. His order crumbled, proving control could not bind the human spirit. Morgoth's void and Sauron's empire were nightmares of different hues, but both were shadows cast by pride. As we examine their shared flaws, we will see why neither could prevail. Though Morgoth and Sauron stood as titans of evil, their power was not absolute. They shared cunning, cruelty, and ambition, but also flaws that doomed them. Their similarities bound them as dark lords, their weaknesses ensured their fall. To understand their end, we must see both the mirror and the fracture between them. Both wielded cunning to devastating effect. Morgoth tricked the elf Gwyndor's brother, Gelmir, into a trap, using his death to bait an elven army into ruin at the Battle of Unnumbered Tears. Sauron deceived Gorlim, an outlaw, with a false promise of reuniting with his wife, leading to the betrayal of his comrades. Both industrialized war, enslaving races to fuel their forges. Morgoth's Angband and Sauron's Mordor churned out weapons and monsters powered by suffering. Both delighted in corruption, turning elves into orcs or men into wraiths, reveling in their foes' despair. Yet their greatest similarity was hubris. Both believed themselves invincible, pouring their power into creations that became their undoing. Morgoth infused his essence into Arda, weakening himself until he was a frail shadow. Sauron bound his soul to the One Ring, a fatal flaw that Frodo's quest exploited. Both misunderstood the nature of good, fearing the courage of elves and men. Morgoth trembled before the elf king Turgon's hidden city. Sauron doubted the meekness of hobbits, never imagining they could destroy his ring. Their differences, however, shaped their failures. Morgoth's chaos made him reckless. His spiteful acts, like stealing the Silmarils, sparked wars he could not predict. His betrayal of allies sowed rebellion as men turned against him. Sauron's order made him overly cautious, spending centuries planning invasions that gave his foes time to unite. His manipulation, though brilliant, failed when trust defied his lies, as when Gandalf rallied the free peoples. Their flaws were mirrors of their desires. Morgoth's envy blinded him to consequences. Sauron's pride underestimated resilience. Both fell because they could not fathom the light they sought to extinguish. As we reach their end, we will see how their legacies endure, and why hope prevails. The tales of Morgoth and Sauron are not merely of darkness, but of the light that defies it. Their reigns of terror reshaped Middle-earth, yet their differences, chaos versus order, destruction versus dominion, reveal the futility of their evil. As their shadows faded, their legacies lingered, a warning and a promise that no darkness is eternal. Morgoth's end came in the First Age, when the valor descended upon Middle-earth. Weakened by his own power, poured into the earth, he could not resist. Cast into the void, he left a scarred world. Beleriand drowned, its peoples broken. Yet his chaos birthed unintended heroes. The Silmarils he stole inspired the elves' valor, and his wars forged alliances that endured. Even in defeat, his malice lingered, a poison in the earth, but it could not unmake Ilúvatar's creation. Sauron's fall was slower, spanning ages. In the Third Age, his One Ring, the heart of his power, was destroyed by Frodo, a humble hobbit. Mordor crumbled, its armies scattered, and Sauron vanished, a spirit too weak to rise again. His order left a different mark: corrupted lands, broken kingdoms, but also resistance. The free peoples, elves, men, dwarves, united against him, proving his control could not bind free hearts. His legacy was a warning of tyranny's cost, but also a testament to courage. Their differences defined their fates. Morgoth's chaos was self-destructive, his rage consuming his might. Sauron's order was brittle, shattered by the unpredictability of hope. Yet both shared a truth. Evil, whether wild or calculated, cannot endure against the spark of good. Middle-earth healed, its scars a reminder of battles won. This tale of two dark lords invites us to ponder. What drives the heart to darkness, and what redeems it? Morgoth and Sauron, though mighty, fell because they could not see the strength in humility, the power in unity. Their story is not the end, but a chapter in a greater saga, one we all share. The shadows of Morgoth and Sauron have faded, but their tales endure. Like, comment, and subscribe to keep the light of Middle-earth burning on our shanty.